Took a long time to get here. Go ahead, punch it in. Whoa.
Welcome to the bunker.
Oh yeah, we had 24 hours. It turned to 28 hours, I guess. Doing a little training with Refuge Training, and he's one of the main trainers there. And we got him on today. He's going to talk about some of the lessons learned that we have, and that he has through all the trainings he's conducted recently, and wealth of knowledge when it comes to tactical training, medical training. Bug out bag training, just anything that would, you could use in the prepper sphere. He's like subject matter expert. So from this point on, Heath will just bless us with a lot of knowledge and skills, and just he's a great guy on top of that. So
they have a Refuge Training Center, or RTC, isn't that what it's called?
Yeah. So we have, all of our classes that can be seen at refugemedical.com under the training tab. But yeah, it's just Refuge Training, man. And we do everything from tactical medicine, teaching the entirety of the S-Marchi algorithm, dive into wilderness medicine. We do bug out bag scenarios and such. So there's really a lot that we have to offer as far as all that's concerned.
yeah, and we've had Mike on previously, and he's come on several times.
Well, I think Bear was the last person we had on that talked about the training, right?
True, we've had Bear and Mike both on. Brittany, when she was with Refuge Medical, was on, and they have a lot. I can't say enough good things about their training. It's affordable. It's stuff that's needed. It's not fluff, and there's not a lot of people there just to talk to impress people. And
right. So put your money where your mouth is. Tell us an interesting story of what you guys just did.
Oh man, yeah. So I really want to start it with like this right here. Is the idea that, possession does not equate to proficiency, right? So you look at like the tactical community, the prepper sphere and anything like that, people really put a lot of trust in the amount of money that they spend, right? And that's quite legitimately a detriment to themselves, because you can have this Gucci'd out rifle, and think that, oh yeah, I've got this, $500 bag and this $800 tent, and you've spent all of this money on all of this gear, but you don't actually put money or time or effort into even learning how to use it. That's a problem, because the truth of the matter is you're never going to rise to the occasion. The occasion is going to rise upon you, and you're going to fall to your level of training. And guess what? If that level of training is zero, guess what? You can't really expect to perform really all that well, can you? So the expectation is quite lacking when it comes to Gen Pop as a whole. And we with Refuge, we really aim to change all of that, because people perish for lack of knowledge. And if I can mitigate any opportunity for somebody to learn a hard lesson, but actually go through training and learn all of the appropriate steps and methodology. We just did we call it Night Fight with our VIP students. And it was a fantastic experience. Like Buddy said, it was supposed to be a 24-hour training that turned into about 28 hours. And, we went through methodology of room clearing and CQB, running and operating with white light at night versus operating under nods at night, and did some force on force training, all of that. And there are some guys that showed up with, some gear. They had several thousands of dollars in their kit and in their setup. But were they proficient? not even a little bit.
Yeah, I'll second that one. There was a lot of there's a lot of nice, cool gear out there, but as far as the application of using it, I'll just say there's some nice gear out there.
Gosh, we talk about story after story. There's a wonderful woman. Her name's Shailene. She actually really did a great job during this training. But one thing that we try to do with all of our trainings, especially when we go into scenario, is like, hey, you have to remove the idea that you're a training. This is real life, real world kind of stuff. So you kind of think of like if any of you guys play video games, the type of games where like every portion of the game is predicated on every outcome is predicated on a choice that you make, right? And that's very much so real to life. There's outcomes and consequences to every decision we make. And that was something that I was trying to narrate to Shailene. And she was like, okay, well, I'm about to go through this scenario and this and that. Like, I've given you all the information that you need to know. Now, is it possible that you are going to encounter somebody with a gun? That's highly likely. And the situation we were actually entering into was a more or less a solo hostage rescue, if you think about it, completely in the dark. And she was operating with white light. And she was asking, well, what can I do? Can I talk to the person? It's like, well, yeah, absolutely. You can talk to them. Do you think you can talk somebody off the edge when tensions are high? And just more or less like narrating the realities of what it is that she's about to go into. Like, you need to realize that this is training, but this is real life. I want, we're providing a controlled atmosphere for you to be able to fail, where it won't hurt you.
The one of the coolest things I like about Refuge is the trainings I've seen and been involved in is it's not do it this way. There's not just one way to skin that cat. And you actually create the environment to where people will have to think through problems. You create problem solvers. And, we got that in the AAR from one of the students, and he was like, you gave me a scenario and I wasn't expecting it. And just the role players of the way they went through it the outcome of it, he goes, didn't expect that. So that's one of the things I appreciate with the Refuge training, that you just don't get out there. A lot of them is my way or the highway. So,
yeah, well, buddy, think about it this way. People are really good at matching, right? Whether it matches, you're going up against somebody, you're matching their intensity, you're matching their emotion, their feeling, whatever that case may be, regardless of the situation and circumstance that you're endeavoring into. People will match, and that's very true in real life. So part of that training is teaching people how to legitimately overcome and control the situation, because one of the things we commonly teach is, hey, in the absence of leadership, congratulations, you're the leader. If in the absence of leadership, lead, right? So a part of that is it's natural being a part of it, to where you have to be able to read the emotion. You have to be able to be believable yourself. There's a lot of things that really go into this idea as like, okay, I am now de facto the leader. happen on a car accident or a high stress situation. People are freaking out. Nobody knows what to do. Law enforcement hasn't even arrived yet. Whatever, you call your situation. There's no leadership. Somebody's got to step up and lead. Somebody's got to direct this play, if you will. And that's the thing. We have to be able to allow the students to become problem solvers on the fly. And, many end up in what we call paralysis by analysis, where they're taking in so much information that they just can't figure out how to overcome it. And then they pause, and then they're just processing. I call it, like a Windows 98, they're just buffering, or you're watching a YouTube video and you get the spinning wheel of death, right? They just start to buffer. There's nothing going on, no sending, no receiving. It's just they're almost blackout, and that's where you don't want them to be. But we need to provide them the opportunity to be able to meet that, at face value, so that they can learn where their failure point is and grow from it.
Well, I can tell you, leadership is not something that you're born with. People could say, "Oh, he's a born leader," or "She's a born leader." Good leadership, because I've been in leadership roles my entire adult life in work.
Yeah,
and I can tell you that is absolutely a learning experience. I can't count how many times I have messed up, and a lot of times I've learned from those mistakes. And I think that's what you're talking about here is making the mistakes so that you can learn from them.
Well, that's exactly it. That you hit the nail on the head. We've got to provide an atmosphere to allow people to make those mistakes where it's safe, where nobody's actually getting hurt, and talk about the ideas of like military training, if you will. They're going to break you down to just bare minimum, just so they can build you up to be the men and women that the military needs you and wants you to be, right? And it's more or less the same thing. I've got to break you down and get you so far down in that hole to where you absolutely will fail, so that I can build you up and encourage you and get you to see the reality just enough to where something clicks in your mind and you're like, oh. Because oftentimes, especially in training, people treat training as training. But if you're not treating training as real life, it's a detriment to you. You might as well not even be there.
Yeah, Refuge does a great job with that. The stress inoculation. It's not just a methodology. They don't give you a checklist and say, complete these checks, and then you're good.
It's total immersion.
Yeah, total immersion. I mean, so much so to where we get questions, even scenario, all the time, where students are just asking questions for the sake of clarity. And we are purposely ambiguous with our answers because I need them to think. I need them to breathe. Okay, this situation has been thrusted upon you, and you have a split second to make a decision and react. Run through your OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act, and then do it again, and keep doing it, and keep going. And of course, very much so, a lot of the training that we do is also physical, because, the unfortunate reality is, Gen Pop as a whole is severely out of shape, and people don't have a grasp on truly how resilient mankind can be.
Well, let's take that right there for an instance. I'm out of shape. You can't train somebody's body in 48 hours that you're doing this. So are we learning, or we're not building muscle or losing fat in 48 hours. So what are we doing really with that part of it?
I think the biggest factor there is you're being exposed to the reality of your personal circumstance, right? So upon that exposure, that causes you to know and understand that regardless of the timing, there's so much that things where things happen organically that we have zero amount of control over, right? So when those circumstances are thrust upon us, You fight with what you brought. So if you're 50 pounds overweight and you've got a bad back and a blown knee, guess what? You have to learn how to overcome that set of circumstances in your specific situation. So in essence, we're just removing the excuses. Like, I understand. Believe me, I totally understand. My heart cries out for you. But if you can't see the value in what it is that we're doing and realize and quite frankly, come out of our training with a whole new level of respect for your own personal being, I haven't done my job. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is, like, I always bring it down around, like, our mission statement is to save lives while in service to the Father's kingdom and experience the abundance of provision of his blessing. You know, we take faith very seriously, but a part of this component to save lives, it's not just, the medical component and to save lives, but, it's also like people don't know what they don't know. People perish for lack of knowledge. So now I've got to disseminate the appropriate knowledge to the individual, regardless of the circumstance and situation, so that they can gain knowledge and wisdom and understanding to be able to execute when it matters.
Since we're talking about, people's limitations, can you give us an example of somebody that showed up for training and had a limitation that most people would feel like they wouldn't even be able to do the task or learn?
Well, hold on. Before you do that, you have limitations. Tell us what you went through.
Oh, man. So
Yeah. No, I'm talking to Buddy.
Oh, me?
the old T3 alumni. Come on, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a few pounds overweight. I got some age on me, and I'm not that 30-year-old, infantry stud that I used to be. And
isn't that like a kick in the gut?
Well, it's just like you said. There was times where I had trouble just getting off the deck, getting off the ground. I'm not just jumping up, from my belly and jumping up, And then as the day progresses with the grass drills and the stress inoculation and stuff, not only is my body starting to hurt, but then my mind's starting to get in there. It's like, oh, you can quit, man. You've done this before. You're okay. You have a devil and an angel, on each shoulder, when I'm trying to talk you out of it, I was telling you to keep going.
But you got friends there, but surely they're letting you off the hook, right?
Oh, no, definitely. No. That works the other way around. So,
no, I double down on you, bro.
Yeah, he does. Just to say, but they understand, and I'll just say it from, my perspective as a student, former student and still a student with them, they understand your limitations and stuff. And they're not making you do anything you can't do. But they're encouraging you to learn something about yourself. And I think that's one of the greatest things I can see with their training, is you work within your limitations, and 9 times out of 10, you're actually rising above it, with encouragement and a little, I've seen people try to quit. I've not seen anybody, especially this last class. I was so impressed with nobody just quit.
Yeah.
It was 102 degrees out on a range with no shade.
Right. So not naming names, who was the worst? Tell us the worst situation.
Oh, you know what? Probably most instructors, we were like, this is hot. Screw this. No, I mean, I can't really think of anybody just said, screw this. Nobody said, screw this.
I can say this for certain. Nobody said, screw this. The positive mental attitude of the core group was fantastic. So much so that I personally had to put a stop to the ladies who were there because they were shaking. And I'm like, if you keep going, you are going to end up in heat exhaustion, and I can't have a real world. So we're going to take a break. You're going to go sit in the shade. And then, of course, I gave them hydration salts and let them take a break, but they needed that, but they were willing to push through.
They weren't going to quit. I guarantee
they weren't going to quit. No questions to it.
They would have broke first. And that's what I can also say about the instructors with refuges. they have trained enough people that they recognize, these things where, he's really good at it, where he sees people starting to hit that wall, and he'll tune it back a little bit. Hey, let's take a break, let's get rehydrated, and let's move out. Because there's a certain point to where you get to training failure, where your body quits, your brain quits. You just get to where you're not retaining. And I think we were getting close toward about hour, maybe 20. And we took a little break and recharged the batteries a little bit, got rehydrated, and came back and started rocking it again. So, that's a very good point.
Well, that must have been an extreme class. You're talking hour 20 here. I mean, you're talking 20 straight hours in 102 weather.
Well, I mean, at night the temperature dropped, right? So,
this was an overnight thing.
Yeah, this was overnight.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it was definitely hot, and I don't know. I just can't say enough about how there was no quitters out there. I was totally expecting a few people to, and they didn't. They might slow down a little bit, but they still were rocking it up to the final hour. So.
Well, I think this will narrate it the most for Keith, probably, buddy. Buddy, go ahead and think back to your T3 that you went through. Do you remember? Now he's a big fella, like he was a large man, like very obese, and I say this in love. He's a very good friend of mine now since we've trained, but. Do you remember that guy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You recall how much just nonsense he was willing to put himself through. And he would not quit. He would push and push, throw a tourniquet on, do burpees and up downs and run down the drive and back. And And, we were doing some physical work, and this man would not quit.
Not quit. Slow down. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't the fastest guy out there.
But here's
Definitely
the thing.
The slowest, but yes.
He fought with what he brought.
Exactly.
Right? And that's literally the entirety of the point of what I'm trying to get to, is the idea of, like, you fight with what you brought. Now, guess what? Since then, he's lost 100 pounds.
I was about to get there. Yeah. There's a lot of people that they show up for another class and they're totally transformed, or they're well on their way to being transformed. So,
yeah, so much so that last year we did a wilderness responder. It's a 3-day rucking event. You're rucking in and living out of what you have on your back, basically, but you're also going through wilderness medicine training as well. So we're just stacking TLOs, and he signed up for the class, and we had all of our students go through a medical examination with our or a questionnaire with our I'm spacing on the word.
Your chief medical officer?
Medical director. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's a licensed doctor and all of that. He's a fantastic human being, to say the least. But, Doc was like, no, I want him to take the class, and I know he's really trying, but he's just not there yet. And at that time, he had only lost about maybe 35, 40 pounds, and he was still pushing it. But now he's lost almost 100 pounds, and he is almost completely off all of his medication with the exception of one. And we're talking about a man who's got a tremendous amount of drive, who saw the writing on the wall, who was exposed to reality, and he took that information and did something with it. And we still had to turn him away, because our wilderness responder training is, 3 days. And of course, at that time, it was, just at the end of summer, where, it's just the hottest, frankly. And, it was just a difficult training. And of course, it's a 1.5 2-mile ruck thereabout. And, on the way in, it's all uphill. And we have what we call, the hill of death, if you will. It's just this nasty 12-degree hike that is about 1/4 mile long uphill. And, for most of the incline for the first mile, it's bearable, 2 to 3, and it just fluctuates, through rolling hills. But then this last portion, this last kick, it's all uphill, and it's everything you got. And of course, everybody's coming in, and their rucks weighing, 55, 60 pounds. And then, of course, they've got chest rigs. And, of course, we allow them to carry their personal rifles, with chamber flags in them and such. But, they're getting the full picture, the full idea. Like, hey, if you're going to bug out, this is what you're going to have. Where we kind of lovingly at the top of the hill, we kind of joke and say, do any of you want to go to war with the government now? I don't think so. But it brings to mind the ideas of like the fallacy that Gen Pop lives in, and we're breaking that reality, but we go through so much to break that reality. But the breaking of reality is what allows the individual, or the perceived reality. The breaking of the perceived reality is a better way to put it. But breaking that perception of reality is what allows us to build someone up in such a way that they come back a new person.
Everybody wants to be a gangster until it's time to do the gangster shit,
Right.
And that's the way it is.
Yeah, I've got that kind of terrain on my property where it's very, very steep, deep in the woods. So you're not just walking on like the grass. You're going over boulders and hills, and you're stepping into old like where roots used to be, where there's like a hole in the ground, that kind of stuff. And I won't do it right now. It's 102 degrees with the heat index of 110. And, like I said, even if she was here, my wife's in Texas right now for the week. I'm way away from people. I would be in big trouble if I went out there and got into heat exhaustion or some kind of trouble. I won't do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you're getting into prolonged field care. God forbid something happens, and you're probably more than an hour away from higher care.
Yep.
You certainly don't have the golden hour, so that's a problem, right? Which
and nobody's checking on me,
right? Which yields its own form of medical emergency in and of itself. So that's literally a situation to where knowledge is only going to be your friend, and quite frankly, it's probably wisdom that you're not going out there and doing the things.
Fall, winter, and spring, man. Not the dead, especially this kind of heat. I mean, this heat we're dealing with right now is crazy.
Oh, it's ridiculous, man. I hate going outside. I mean, I'm very glad that I have a son who just recently turned 12 years old, and I'm like, guess what, son? You get to mow the yard.
Perfect age.
yeah. Go have fun.
So I have somebody in mind about a current student. He's been a former student as well, but who has a very serious limitation where you would think he would not want to do some training.
Oh, brother, gosh, I thought you were going there, but I'm glad that you said that. Yeah, man, talk about an individual. So he is all the way 100% legally blind. He's got seeing eye people, has the stereotypical walking, seeing eye cane thing. Like, he's got all that. And, I think we put him through wilderness responder. He's done the R3 2 or 3 times now, as well as he's done the R3 twice, as well as the train the trainer. And I kid you not, every time this man shows up, he is, if not the top performer, he is at the top of the class every time. And it's simply because a vital sense has been taken away from him. Therefore, he focuses all the more. He listens the best. His application, something as simple as a tourniquet application, he doesn't fail. He just pushes and he pushes. Like, this man literally removes every excuse. And Gen Pop, modern society encourages excuses, if you will. Oh, well, I've got this bad knee. Oh, well, I've got this going on with my wrist, and that's why I can't do this. And most of the reason it's not that's why I can't, it's that's why I won't. And we can get into mincing of words, but words mean things. And most of the time it's not I can't, it's I won't. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And blindness is that's a tough one, man. In this kind of world,
it's a tough one. And that's the cool thing about doing the night fight and the night responder, because we've got another nighttime event coming up. I want to say in a couple of months. I think it's early to mid October.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, something like that. But we've got another nighttime event coming up, and doing medicine in the dark when you can't see anything, and this dude's living in the dark 24/7. Like, I mean, you can't argue against any woes that anybody has. Like, you can't argue against this guy, because he's fighting, and I mean fighting hard.
Prepper brothers and sisters, we'd like to remind you that the Tops Bunker podcast now has its own YouTube channel where you can listen to all our episodes and watch some videos as well. We have live events planned for this summer and giveaways, so don't miss out. Please stop by the new channel and subscribe. We need those subscriptions and appreciate your support. YouTube.com/Tops Bunker Podcast. Hit the subscribe button and comment as much as you like. Now, back to the show.
A lot of things in just in our everyday life that, because we have all our faculties and we have, we feel 100%, it's when you lose them, then that's when you probably, appreciate them the most. But I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is this whole thing is he has every excuse in the world not to do this training, but he seeks it out and goes for even further training and excels. I mean, it's awesome to see it,
That's what's astounding, is he excels at it. It's like, this dude's drive is just it's awe-inspiring.
Not to get too personal, is he blind from birth or went blind?
So I believe it was as he was a child, he was a victim in a car accident, and the optic nerves detached from the retinas in his eyes. So he's been blind probably as long as he can remember.
He remembers seeing things. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something, man. That's a story right there.
Isn't it? Like, I can't think of this guy, because the other part of this is he has the greatest positive mental attitude I have ever encountered on an individual. And that's one thing that we teach and preach throughout our classes is, if you want to go through something, yeah, I applaud you all for being here and going through this class. Thank you. But if you want to excel at this, if you want to excel in the real world, what's going to separate you from Gen Pop as a whole is really going to be your outlook on life and the attitude with which you present to the world whenever you're going through the suck. If you have a positive mental attitude, there's not a whole lot you can't overcome.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of we've had in the past. We've had a guy who's been on the show several times, who's had a success story, which he lost a lot of weight. He moved, and he used that move to have an actual, life-changing, time or a life-changing event. So he's like, okay, once I get this move done, I'm going to move to the new location, and I'm going to start, really paying attention to, certain things in my life. And he started working out, I started losing weight, and it changed his life. You could just tell by speaking with him how it just changed everything with him.
Yeah, new place, new me kind of thing. And some people require that. At which point you're really kind of getting into, the weeds on, psychology and the physiological effects of different stressors in life and all of that. And sometimes it just requires a legitimate geographical location change, and like, I'm just going to rebuild my body, rebuild myself, my mind, every bit of my being from the ground up. And, they just completely change their identity and they're better for it.
Exactly. So let's change gears a little bit. So we always get into this myth, being preppers, it seems like the foundation for prepping for everyone, especially newbies, they think, okay, bug out gear, bug out bag. Well, I gotta buy the best, here we go. You know what I'm getting at here. Buy the best stuff, the most stuff in there, the most expensive stuff. So can you give us any guidance or what you've seen in training as far as, you kind of hit on it earlier, people showing up with, Gucci gear. But can you give us some lessons learned from maybe some of the trainings you've had with people that show up with gear and so on, good, the bad, and the ugly with that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially when it comes to like our wilderness responder and our BobX, which BobX is just bug out bag exercise. Both of them are 3 days out in the field, very similar. And the cool thing about those trainings is we don't have to be forceful with creating external stimulus the way we do in our R3 and T3 trainings. Because the heat and the weight on your back and that non-horizontal piece of crap hill that you've got to ruck up just to get to water, that's enough stimulation and stress, and it's quite more than what most people want to go through. But when you're talking about gear, oh man, like, people come in with $1,000 mystery, $800 mystery ranch bag, and they bought this knife for $450, God knows what brand and what steel. They don't know how to sharpen it, or much less even know how to use it. They've got their brand new chest rig that they bought specifically just for this training, and they're going to ruck up the mountain and they're just going to show everybody how it's done. We get that attitude all the time, man. But very rarely is it ever somebody who, I'll put it this way, the people who actually know what they're doing come in with used, beaten up, ratty gear, and you can tell that it's been put to the test. They've worn it a few times. It's got scratches and dents and dings and all of that.
If they didn't inherit it, they're the ones who put it through that.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And you can tell. So, I mean, suffice to say, I love to say it, possession does not equate to proficiency. It doesn't matter how much money you put into your gear. You need to put just as much, if not more, money that you're putting into your gear into training.
So have you seen people that maybe brought things that they really decided they didn't need towards the end of the exercise? Or, I mean, is that a thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So that happens on every one of our trainings, especially when it comes to the BobX and the wilderness. So we actually do a full loadout. So for the wilderness, part of our criteria is you're going to do a standard loadout, right? So what the military requires for their infantrymen, That's what's going in your bag. And typically it's going to end up being around 55 to 60 pounds. And then, of course, you've got your chest rig and all of the other things on top of it. And we have this required items list that as soon as we get to the mountain at the base of it, we make everybody do a bag dump. If you have it, great. If you don't have it, sorry, come back next time. You do not get to proceed in class because you can't follow instructions. That kind of deal, right? And that is something that we take very seriously. And of course, God, it really sucks. I don't want to have to send anybody home because they brought one carpenter pencil or two. So it's like, hey, here's your carpenter pencil. Don't worry about it. But if it's something big, like we had a dude show up with all of the gear on the required items list, but he didn't have a ruck. He didn't have a bag to put it all in.
What?
Come on, man.
I'm not joking. I'm not joking.
Putting everything in his pockets?
It's like he just showed up with all of it in the back of his truck.
Oh,
and it's like, yeah, I've got this. We're like, sir, where's your rucksack? Well, I didn't know I needed one. What do you mean you didn't know you needed one? And then, of course, we've done videos, like video after video after video on, hey, this is my rucksack. Here's my layout. You know, T did one with his layout. Fripp did one with his layout, so on and so forth, right? And, you know, just covering the gear, just trying to help the students understand this is what the loadout's going to look like. By the way, if you're not training right now to acclimate your body to the stress that's going to be induced while you're out here, you're wrong, right? That kind of thing. Like, you show up without a rucksack with all of this gear. How did you think you were going to carry it?
You know, I can say one thing about Refuge. They put a lot of time, money, and effort into setting everybody up for success pre-event, you know, pre-class. You know, they spend months. When people sign up, you get into a chat group, and we'll just call it that. And there's a lot of interaction. You can ask any questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's a lot of information. Hey, you might want to watch this video because it'll help you out. There's just a lot of information given to you pre-event to get you set up for success. And, you know, you don't get that out there with almost any other. I haven't seen it like that with any other training facility. They might send you a welcome letter saying, hey, welcome to XYZ training, and bring this stuff with you. And if you have any questions, call us at this number or email us or whatever. So there's a lot of extra effort put into, you know, a student's success. So I've got another question for you. What is the top 3 items you've seen, talking about a bug out bag, or what are the top 3 items you've seen that people will show up with and never use, that it just never happens, you know, or something that they figure out doesn't work?
In terms of figuring out it doesn't work, probably their sleep system.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah,
that's a big one, dude. People buy like these high dollar systems, whether it be, I like to roll with a Whoopee. You know, I know that it works, but I also have a 2-person tent, right? You know, and it keeps me dry. But you know, people will spend all kinds of money on a sleep system.
Explain what a sleep system might be.
So we're talking about like a sleeping pad, your sleeping bag system as a whole. You know, people have, you know, straight up brought 0-degree sleeping bags in the summer. Why? Right?
Makes a nice pillow.
Yeah, dude. It's like, okay, you're just gonna sleep on the sleeping bag. Good for you. And that's like weight and space that you could have saved, right? So everything that we do within, like, you know, your bug out bag situation, it's a TLO. You're learning. It's a terminal learning objective. So you're learning how to situate your ruck, how to utilize your gear, how to pack everything within the ruck so that it even rides comfortably. Like every bit of it is a learning opportunity. So there's the sleep system. Your shelter system is another one, especially in the sense of waterproofing. People spend a lot of money and think, okay, well, I'm good on this system. And, they wake up with all kinds of mosquito bites. And of course it rained in the middle of the night and they woke up in the middle of the night soaked. So that's something. But, it's not to say that their system wouldn't have worked or couldn't work. It's just that they did it wrong, and they, again, didn't know what they didn't know. And, some of the students, they'll, especially once we get up to the top of the mountain and we start setting camp, people will start laying out all their stuff and feeling really proud of themselves. And, somebody will stop them like, hey, you should probably do this way. And normally it's a student who's, more experienced out in the wilderness and such. And they're like, I just want to help you out. And then they don't heed the warning and the instruction, and then they pay the price for it. Right. So a lot of it really just comes down to, you spent a lot of money on a really awesome piece of kit that will really do its job, but you don't know what the heck you're doing.
Yeah,
to be honest, that's why you're there, is because you don't know what you're doing. If you knew what you were doing, you'd probably have too big of an ego to go something like that anyway, or you'd go just to show people up.
Yep, basically, and we've had all of the personalities to say the least. It is what it is, but also like one of the things that like I don't like, but I 100% back the value in the learning opportunity is the fact that we'll let the students just set up however you think it's going to work. And then, we go through our first portion of, medical class and training and such. And then, okay, well, it's nighttime. Now you got to, go to sleep in the system that you built. And then they quickly figure out, well, this didn't work. This sucked, or that sucked. Like I had ants crawling all over me, or whatever. You name it. It's probably happened. And, we purposely don't really give any coaching so that the students will have the opportunity to learn from what it is that they've done. Because if I go in and say, hey, you should have done this, this, and this, but they don't actually receive the repercussions of their actions based on their lack of understanding of the situation and the system that they're building out, they really won't learn a lesson all too well, will they?
That's a good point right there. Great point.
So, and it sucks for me because I'm a helper. Like I want to help you. I want you to have a good class. I want you to succeed, and I'm going to push you and build you up and encourage you. But I also have to like pull the reins back on that bone a little bit and be like, okay, so you're going to learn a hard lesson, but you're definitely going to learn it.
How many hours of sleep do you guys get on these things typically?
Oh gosh, probably it's
Well, let me ask you this: how many hours are you given for sleep?
That's probably a better question, because what we do is we also do nighttime rotation with the students, setting up security elements, and we'll do a 2-hour rotation with teams, depending on how many teams we have. Normally, it's just we'll have 20 students to an event, right? 20 students to a class, maybe 25. So if I can build out teams of 5 or 6, oh yeah, we'll have rotations all night long. Of course, the instructors, we go on rotation. So like this last time, I was on rotation with Team 3. Wake up in the middle of the night, go back to sleep in the middle of the night, wake up a few hours later. So depending, you could you could potentially get 6 hours of sleep, but I doubt it, kind of thing, because we're also working into the night, giving the students an opportunity to go through scenarios and such under red light, and they're learning about the importance of scotopic vision, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically the degradation of your vision at nighttime when you're exposed to white light. It takes time for your vision to adjust to the dark, and red light does not disturb, again, your scotopic vision. So it's like all of these things, and we're pushing into the night so that the students will have the opportunity to learn via these experiences. And of course, we're doing pace counts in the dark, and then pace counts in the morning, and everywhere we're walking, everywhere we're rucking is a pace count, right? So, and it's a little bit of a introduction to land navigation as well. So we're trying to just stuff as much into these trainings as possible, just so that the students will get the value, but also receive an idea of, like, okay, this is a bug out situation. You don't realize how much goes into just that. You think, okay, well, I'll be out there for a week and I'm coming home. Or this is, I'm never coming home bag, my inch bag, right? And they've got all this gear. And
thousands of pounds.
Yeah, you're really going to go out there with a 120-pound bag?
I call it the don't look back pack.
That's a good one. I've not heard that, but it makes sense, right?
Pace counting, are you doing like doing clickers?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So what we do is we measure at 100 meters, and it is point-to-point location verified. 328 feet is 100 meters. So we measure out verified distance, 100 meters. And the moment you get to the top of the mountain, we'll break for water, and then you execute your first pace count. So for everybody's understanding, to do a pace count, you start at, call it your starting line. You take a step with your right foot, and then every time your left foot falls, every time your left foot hits the ground, you count 1, right foot, 2, right foot, 3, all the way for 100 meters. So for me, for my stride, in, just every day, my EDC, my boots that I typically wear, so on and so forth, and I'm not over encumbered, my stride is for 100 meters, 62, 61 and a half paces per 100 meters. And then, it changes as I, change the conditions. If I'm barefooted, it changes. If I throw a ruck on, okay, so now my steps are shorter. So my pace has now changed. So what we do is we create these situations to where these students have to, take pace counts. Your pace count can change even in the dark because you're being a little bit more careful, with your steps and all of that. So we create these situations to where the students can create pace counts based on the certain set of circumstances. And then, of course, once you know that number for 100 meters, I'm not counting to 500, right? I'm counting to 62. And then every time I count to 62, I know that I have hit 100 meters. So I pull a ranger bead down. Then I count for another 100 meters worth of paces. Okay. Hit 62 again, pull another ranger bead down.
You use ranger beads?
Yep, we sure do. So if I get to nine ranger beads pulled down and I hit my location, okay, easy. I have just traveled 900 meters, right? If I have to reset my 9 beads and I pull one of the kilometer beads down, okay, cool, right? But we encourage the students to bring ranger beads. Actually, I believe it's in the required portion of the, I believe it's in the required items.
But wait, you're supposed to be teaching a wilderness medicine class. I mean, how does pace count and land navigation, fit into that?
Oh boy, how does it not? Right?
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking about it, like, first of all, wilderness, like any type of wilderness certification, can all the way be taught via PowerPoint. We don't believe in that.
Yeah.
We don't believe in that, not even for a second.
Yeah.
Like, I can teach the PowerPoint, sure, no problem. But you're not going to learn a thing, because the truth of the matter is people learn, via what we call VARK, visually, auditory, repetitiously, and then kinesthetically. So VARK. And all of that means is you need to see it. You need to hear how to do it. You need to repetitiously go through these patterns of behavior to build the skill. And kinesthetic is literally doing it, right? So you have to go through all of it. It's not just enough to hear and see a PowerPoint. You've got to have the other two parts of the equation, and repetition and kinesthetic. If you don't,
I learned how to do all my bushcrafting off of YouTube, man. Come on.
Yeah,
I'm an expert.
Yeah. BS. Right.
Yeah, and that's a good point, man. There's learning a concept, and there's actually pressure testing that concept.
And that's the thing. That's what we believe in. It's literally pressure testing. I want you. Yeah, you've got this badass bag and this whole system that you've built out, and you put a lot of thought and effort into it. And you're a prepper of preppers. Good job, man. I'm going to pat you on the back. Oh, but you don't know how to use any of that gear. And all you've done is sit in your lazy boy recliner and fantasized about how you're going to shine when the day comes.
Yeah.
Well, that's most. I mean, that's most beginner preppers. I mean, it all starts with the fantasies at some point.
Well, I mean, it's not just beginner preppers. It's people who've been in the game for 20 years.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess you're right. Do you find that?
I'm not mincing words. I mean, I'm just telling you the reality, and people like to talk. Very rarely do you come across somebody who is actually doing it, and that's the thing. So, TJ, with Bear Independent and all of that, like, he's a prepper channel, he's a prepper guy, but you know what? He's actually doing it. And that's really where like, that's why we have the relationship that we have, with all the people, surrounding Refuge and surrounding Bear Independent, and the people that we do life with in general, is simply because we do it. We get it because we do it. Like, you can't argue the results. Like, you can literally take a look at somebody and know, bring it around to firearms, right? Yeah, you've got this Gucci rifle that you spent $4,000 on. It's not zeroed, and the iron sights, the front sight post is in the rear, and the rear sight post is in the front. Like, it's real. I've seen it. So, like, I mean, we could talk about this all day, but like,
my wife's got a far better firearm than I have.
Sure.
I have the firearm that everybody pretty much makes fun of. I built mine out of parts. Some of it comes from Palmetto, so we know what the shape it's in.
Hey, man.
But I'm still, with iron sights, I'm still hitting 6 to 8 inch groups on a 100-yard shot.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've learned, I've used it, I've practiced, I've zeroed it in, I've saw my mistakes, I've shot the gun and my scope has flown off. I mean, I've done all that,
Well, first off, Keith, I can say we can be friends, because all of my rifles that I've ever had, I built. I pieced them together. And there's something to say to that, in learning.
So much fun too.
It really is. It's like adult Legos, man. It's like, you've got all the different pieces, and this one goes here and this one goes there, and I can move this forward or back, and it does this for me. Like, you can spend as much money as you want, but if you don't put the money into the ammo and the training and learning how to even zero the rifle and then go through the process of like, okay, this is what the reset feels like. Here's the wall. I'm going to pull through the wall, and I know exactly what this rifle feels like when that bolt walks to the rear.
Right. It does have a different feeling. That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's all the things that nobody really thinks about that actually matter, because those little details are the ones that save the most time, especially when we're talking about a medical or a trauma situation. It's those fine details that matter, because those fine details are going to determine whether or not you spend 5 seconds figuring out why your rifle isn't running, or you spend half a second because you know exactly what it feels like because the bolts lock back to the rear. You visually inspect it, you drop the mag, you immediately slide a new bag back in, and then you run the bolt carrier group forward and you're back in the fight.
Well, we're getting way over the hour, so let's see if we can't rein this thing in and close it out.
Well, yeah, and I got a whole list of questions that, we'll definitely have to bring you back on, because I don't think we scratched the surface on a lot of this stuff. So I guess we could end with this. What would be your one little nugget people really need to have in a training situation?
That he hasn't already said? I mean...
he's so full of knowledge, man. I'm telling you, this guy is like, I know him. I'm looking for a little piece here. So.
I got you, bro. And I think this is it. You have to be able to subordinate your ego. If you want to get good at anything, it doesn't matter what it is, you have to be willing to look like a fool for a time frame in order to develop the skills to even be considered good before you can even become a subject matter expert. Everybody wants to be the subject matter expert, but you got to be willing to look like a fool beforehand.
We will definitely want to have you back on to talk about some other things. Anytime that you think you got something worthy to talk about, that our listeners can benefit from, reach out to us as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Keith. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And of course, for all your listeners out there, if you need the best medical training, and if you like what you heard or anything like that, by all means, go to refugemedical.com. Check out our training under the training tab. And of course, we've got the best first aid kits that money can buy.
My Prepper brothers and sisters, if you have an idea for a show topic or would like to be on the show as our guest, email shtf@topsbunker.com, website topsbunker.com, YouTube Tops Bunker Podcast channel, and SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/tops. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and remember, stay prepped, stay happy. Thanks for listening, and good night.